Welcome to Value Plays Only, where the One Ring is basically just fog. Today we have Dan playing Pako, Arcane Retriever, and Haldan, Avid Arcanist. This Teamer Value list is looking to do its best Atali impression. Pako can generate massive card advantage while pressuring life totals with commander damage. His hand contains Orcish Lumberjack, Mystic Remora, Taiga, Tropical Island, and Steam Vents. His Lena mulligans are Gemstone Caverns and Force of Will. Cammy's playing Winota, Joiner of Forces. This deck is packed to the brim with creatures. It looks to stacks out the board while cheating in massive combat threats. Her hand contains Gingerbrute, High Noon, Plateau, Arid Mesa, and Windswept Heath. Her Lena mulligans are Blade Historian and Aethersworn Canonist. Tyler's playing Marneus Calgar. This Esper value pile is chock-a-block full of token generators that Marneus turns into card advantage. It can win with Thassa's Oracle or Hullbreaker Horror loops. His hand contains Philia, Exuberant Shepherd, Worn and Soul Trader, Mystic Remora, Reanimate, Demonic Tutor, Hollowed Fountain, and Underground Sea. John is playing Atraxa, Grand Unifier. This is a big mana food chain deck. It looks to ramp out its commander for massive value, winning with Thassa's Oracle or commander damage. His hand contains Mockingbird, Kinnan Bonder Prodigy, Food Chain, Mox Opal, and Overgrown Tomb. His Lena mulligans are Displacer Kitten and Mental Misstep. And with that, let's see some value plays. Dan starts things off with a Steam Vents. Into play, untapped, paying 2 life. He casts an Orcish Lumberjack. Dan passes the turn. Cammy plays a Plateau for turn. She casts Gingerbrute. Cammy passes the turn. Tyler plays an Underground Sea. He casts Mystic Remora. Remora resolves, and Tyler passes the turn. John takes his turn. He draws and looks at his hand. John takes no game actions and passes. The table all beg John to explain himself, but he says he has a plan. The turn then moves to Dan. Dan untaps and plays a Taiga for turn. He taps it for mana, then activates Orcish Lumberjack, sacrificing Taiga for 3 more mana to cast his commander, Pako, Arcane Retriever. It resolves and Dan goes to combat. He swings Pako at Tyler. Pako triggers and exiles Grand Abolisher, City of Traders, Ancient Tomb, and Otawara, Soaring City. Pako gets 3 +1/+1 counters, and Tyler takes 6 commander damage. Dan then passes the turn. Cammy untaps and plays an Arid Mesa for turn. She pays a life and cracks it, fetching up a Sacred Foundry, untapped, paying 2 life. Cammy casts High Noon. Remora triggers and Tyler draws. High Noon resolves, and the tables strap in for a slower game. John particularly rethinks his first turn play as Cammy passes the turn. Tyler untaps, and in his upkeep, he pays to keep his Remora. He plays a Hollowed Fountain for turn, into play tapped. Tyler passes. John untaps nothing and draws. He plays an Overgrown Tomb, into play tapped. John casts Mox Opal. Remora triggers and Tyler draws. Under High Noon, John has to pass the turn. Dan untaps and plays a Tropical Island for turn. He casts a Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer. Dan goes to combat and swings Pako at Tyler. Pako triggers and exiles Urza's Saga, Dark Ritual, 6, and the One Ring. Pako gets 3 +1/+1 counters, and Tyler moves up to 15 total commander damage. With Tyler feeling the burn, Dan passes the turn. Cammy untaps and plays a Flooded Strand for turn. She pays a life and cracks it, fetching up a Plains to the battlefield. She casts a Spear to the Labyrinth. It resolves, and Cammy passes the turn. Tyler untaps, and in his upkeep, he lets his Remora die, not seeing the point under Labyrinth. Tyler looks sadly at the Lotho he has been holding up under High Noon, but he decides he needs a Pako blocker anyway, and casts Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. Tyler then passes the turn. John untaps and takes no game actions, passing the turn. Dan untaps and plays a Mystic Sanctuary, into play tapped. He goes to combat. Tyler shows Cammy a card and asks if she will help out the Pako, as it will mean Tyler won't have this removal for Cammy's next turn. She agrees, and Tyler casts Banishing Knack, targeting Gingerbrute. Dan, looking to keep the pressure on, casts Flusterstorm, with all copies targeting Banishing Knack. Knack is countered, and Dan moves to declare attackers. Dan swings Pako and Ragavan at Tyler. Pako triggers to exile Swords to Plowshares, Windswept Heath, Nature's Rhythm, and Intuition. Pako gets 4 more +1/+1 counters. Tyler blocks Pako with Lotho and takes 2 from Ragavan. Ragavan triggers to make a treasure and exile Gemstone Caverns off the top of Tyler's library. Dan then passes the turn. Cammy untaps and plays a Windswept Heath for turn. She pays a life and cracks it, fetching up a Plains. She casts her commander, Winota, Joiner of Forces. Winota resolves, and Cammy moves to combat. She swings Gingerbrute and Spirit of Labyrinth at John. Winota triggers twice. With the first trigger, Cammy fails to find. With her second trigger, Cammy puts a Professional Facebreaker into play, tapped and attacking Dan. Dan and John take the damage, and Facebreaker triggers twice to make treasures. Cammy then passes the turn. Tyler untaps and draws. He contemplates his mortality, staring down the massive Pako waiting in the wings to kill him. Tyler casts Reanimate, targeting Lotho. Lotho enters the battlefield, and Tyler loses 2 life. Tyler passes the turn. John untaps and makes his second land drop. He plays Windswept Heath for turn. He pays a life and cracks it, fetching up a Tundra. John casts a Mockingbird with X = 0. It resolves and enters as a flying copy of Ragavan. John then passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He goes straight to combat, swinging Pako at Cammy and Ragavan at Tyler. Tyler wipes all the sweat from his forehead as Pako triggers, exiling Mother of Runes, Verdant Catacombs, Wooded Foothills, and Legolas's Quick Reflexes. Pako gets 3 +1/+1 counters. Tyler blocks Ragavan with Lotho and both die. Cammy takes 16 commander damage. In his second main phase, Dan casts his other commander, Haldan, Avid Arcanist. He then passes the turn. Cammy untaps and draws. She casts Windcrag's Siege. It resolves and she chooses Mardu as it enters. Everyone needs some serious explanation on how bad this is for them as Cammy goes to combat. At the start of combat, Tyler flashes in Philia, Exuberant Shepherd, as a blocker. As Tyler reads this card, Dan realizes this card can reset the Pako counters and gets very nervous. Dan asks Tyler to make a deal not to blink Pako, and Dan will use his Swords to Plowshares on Winota. Tyler says no shot, tells Dan that he's dead to Cammy if he doesn't Swords anyway. Dan sadly realizes that may be true and casts Swords to Plowshares from his Pako pile, targeting Winota. Winota is exiled and Cammy gains 4 life. Cammy then declares attackers. She sends Professional Facebreaker at Dan and Spirit of the Labyrinth at John. They take the damage and Facebreaker triggers twice to make treasures. Cammy then passes the turn. Tyler untaps and draws. Tyler casts Demonic Tutor. He searches up a card to hand and then passes his turn. John untaps and goes to combat. He swings his Flying Ragavan at Tyler, hoping to find something to fix the board. Tyler takes 2 and Ragavan triggers, making a treasure and exiling Orcish Bowmasters from the top of Tyler's library. In his second main phase, John plays Otawara, Soaring City, as land for turn. Looking to make some more blockers, John casts Orcish Bowmasters. It enters and pings Orcish Lumberjack, killing it. John then passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays a command tower from his Pako pile. Dan casts Legolas's Quick Reflexes, targeting Pako. It resolves and Dan goes to combat. He swings Pako at Cammy, reflexes triggers to ping Philia for 16, killing it. Amazingly, the entire table forgot about the Pako exile trigger here, and life moves on. Cammy blocks Pako with Gingerbrute, and it dies. Dan then passes the turn. Cammy untaps and draws. She casts her commander, Winota, Joiner of Forces. Cammy goes to combat, and swings Spirit of the Labyrinth at Tyler and Facebreaker at Dan. Winota triggers twice due to Windcrag's Siege. The first trigger puts Voice of Victory into play, tapped and attacking Dan. The second trigger resolves, putting Lena, Selfless Champion, into play, tapped and attacking Dan. Lena triggers to make 5 1/1 soldier creature tokens. Dan blocks Voice of Victory with Haldan, and they take the rest. With a commanding board presence full of non-human creatures, Cammy passes the turn. Tyler untaps and re-examines his life. Tyler asks Dan if he plans to kill him this turn. Dan hems and haws a bit as Tyler gestures wildly at Cammy's massive board. Tyler begs Dan to see reason so Tyler doesn't have to tap out for a blocker every turn. He casts an Arcane Signet and dares Dan to do it, passing the turn. John untaps and goes to combat, swinging his Flying Ragavan at Tyler. Tyler takes 2 and Ragavan triggers to make a treasure and exile Retraction Helix off the top of Tyler's library. In his second main phase, John plays a Marsh Flats for turn. He pays life and cracks it, fetching up a tropical island. He casts Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. John then passes the turn. Dan untaps and draws. He plays an Ancient Tomb as land for turn. Dan casts the One Ring from his Pako pile. John announces he has a response and decides to activate Kinnan. Since his deck is not built to do this, Kinnan fails to find. The One Ring resolves, and Dan gains protection from everything. Dan then goes to combat and swings Pako at Tyler. Tyler is flabbergasted that Dan would opt to kill him here instead of chipping away at Cammy. Dan says this is his best path to victory, and Pako triggers, exiling Sunbaked Canyon, Arcane Signet, and Red Elemental Blast. We didn't really care about Tyler's exile here. Tyler takes lethal commander damage and dies. All of his cards leave the Pako pile, and John loses his Bowmasters. With that, Dan passes the turn. Cammy untaps and draws. She casts Kiki Jiki, Mirror Breaker. Under Voice of Victory, John and Dan just sit back this turn. Cammy goes to combat and swings her 5 soldiers and Spirit of the Labyrinth at John. Winota triggers 12 times due to Windcrag's Siege. Since Dan has protection from everything, all these creatures are going to enter, tapped and attacking John. The first trigger puts in Ranger Captain of Eos. She declines her search for convenience as Dan realizes his win is getting harder and harder. The second puts in Blade Historian. The third is Sanctum Prelate. Cammy names 3 as it enters, trying to lock Dan out of board wipes. The fourth is Combat Celebrant. The fifth is Drannith Magistrate, locking Dan out of his Pako pile. The sixth is Boromir, Warden of the Tower, locking out free spells. The seventh trigger fails to find. The eighth is Greymond, Avacyn's Stalwart. Cammy chooses Vigilance and Lifelink as it enters. The ninth is Magus of the Moon, locking out Dan's mana. The 10th is Esper Sentinel. The 11th trigger fails to find. The 12th trigger fails to find. John blocks a soldier with his cannon and then takes 88, and Cammy gains 78. John is blown to smithereens, and Cammy then passes the turn, daring Dan to do something. Dan untaps, and in his upkeep, the One Ring triggers. Cammy responds by sacrificing Ranger Captain of Eos. Dan responds by tapping the One Ring to draw 1 card due to Spirit of the Labyrinth. Ranger Captain then resolves, locking Dan out of non-creature spells this turn. Dan now takes 2 from his One Ring trigger. Defiant in the face of death, Dan swings Pako at Cammy. Pako triggers to exile Spectator Seating and Pact the Negation, getting 2 more +1/+1 counters. Cammy blocks with Professional Facebreaker. In his second main phase, Dan plays an Urza Saga as a mountain and passes his turn, finally resigning to his fate. Cammy untaps and goes to combat, blowing Dan to bits by a country mile. And with that, Cammy wins the game. So, what did we learn today? If you're playing an Unga Bunga deck, don't worry about the current threat and just keep blasting who you've been blasting. It'll probably all work out. If you have any tips for the video, leave them below. Subscribe if you feel like it. Until next time, keep making value plays.
What does she do? Doesn't matter. It's a blocker.
Well, it will matter.
It literally doesn't matter. When it attacks, I can exile up to 1 other target, non-land permanent.
Yeah, it lets you blink some.
That
It also resets the Pako counters.
completely fucks Pako.
Yeah. So this is a good card for everyone else
Yes.
at the table.
The
Great.
3 of us, hey, good card,
Good
good
job.
card, good card.
Yeah.
All right,
good work.
good
Good
card.
work, team.
Make a deal with me.
Are you okay? What the deal is? It triggers when it attacks.
Yeah.
Will you not bounce Pako this just once?
Okay,
Just this
Dan.
one.
That's great. That's part of the deal. What is the deal for me? Like, what do you
The
mean?
deal is I
Because
won't.
Cammy's gonna
You're-
fucking
you
kill
won't
you.
let
Deal
go
is
swords.
towards that.
Okay, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah,
Deal with
Cammy's gonna
board.
kill
Like,
you.
yeah,
unless you
she's
do
gonna
something.
kill you. Like,
And that's
that's
good
not
for
a
us.
deal. The
Yeah,
deal
like,
is
I'm
I
only-
don't think she can kill me from 36.
Dan, she absolutely can with 4 triggers.
she's gonna get that. The deal is I won't shoot this creature. Okay, you're gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
You have to shoot that.
Okay, I will. Yeah, swords.
I'm saying I won't bounce that thing if you don't attack me with it. Don't.
No, I'm not gonna
Dude,
attack you. I wouldn't
I
attack you. I would not
swear-
attack you.
I'll put
I'm
it
not
on the
gonna
board.
attack you. I'm not gonna attack you. I'm just saying.
What on
I'm
earth?
probably gonna kill that creature.
I'm just getting used and abused over here, dude. What?
Dude, I can't wait for Tyler to untap and just go fuck them fast as Oracle.
Dude, I wish.
What was that D tutor, bitch? Why don't you tell me?
No.
Well, show me. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm playing it. If you kill me, whatever.
Cammy
I
might just-
pass.
I will say, if it gets to Cammy, she
Yeah,
wins.
we're
With 12
probably
triggers,
just
she'll
gonna-
kill all.
Like, I don't have anything, so I'm
Yeah.
passing.
All right.
Yeah, and actually,
Honestly, not much fun.
man, Tyler, I think I probably will wind up killing you, dude. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Honestly,
Why am I in this game?
Because
yeah,
I-
that's
I-
fucked.
No,
I want.
I feel like I can't reveal why I would want to do that.
Okay, then blow me up.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Had you cast
Well-
that? John,
Oh,
let me
that's
see your
great.
hand.
My hand's
That's so funny.
my hand's
Yeah,
pretty
let me-
nuts.
Let me see your hand. In your instead, I cast Tainted Pact. Exile my whole library except for 1. That's the Oracle win. You! I couldn't do it through all that. That's
Yeah,
why I was
yeah.
like, dude, I'm just playing to live.
Oh my, dude, if Magus wasn't there, holy shit.
If Magus and Voice of Victory and Draneth,
You're right, 3 cards.
right, and if Kiki couldn't copy them to out your removal, yeah, you're like right there.
No.
You really outplayed Dan. You played like shit.
Dude. Oh my god. Somebody's a hater because
I'm
he
just
died.
kidding.